booty, rocking everywhere. Do you like my new overalls, Tessa?
Very cute.
I got them off TikTok.
What kind of fabric are they?
They're like the fleece fuzzy.
Oh,
Like teddy bear.
Yeah, like teddy bear.
That's nice.
They're really comfortable. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you do give booty.
Oh.
You can't see it right now, but it's being recorded.
Oh.
High definition booty.
Oh, gosh. Sorry, y'all.
Welcome back to the Velvet Gavel.
Yeah.
This is part deuce, part 2. Do you guys ever watch something that isn't supposed to be in charge suddenly start bossing everyone around? You know, that coworker that thinks like they're the boss?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, hell no, bitch.
I've encountered a few of those. Yeah.
Like the guy at work who's not a manager but somehow runs things.
Yeah.
Because he prints labels faster than anyone else. He's so fast. I'm super fast. That's religion in America. Last episode, we asked whether religion itself is real, spiritually, psychologically, historically. Tonight, or today, we're tackling something far more chaotic. What happens when religion tries to run everything else? Because
just like when one person tries to run everything else, it doesn't go well. It doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
So welcome back to the Velvet Gavel. I am Joe, your host, and next to me is
Clinton.
And of course, we have Miss Tessa with us again today. Say hi, Tessa.
Hi.
Hi. We love having you with us.
Yeah.
We get excited when we know you're going to come with us on this journey. I did share my my notes with her of future episodes that are coming up so that she can decide whether she wishes to participate in certain ones or not.
Just on there circling. Okay.
I forgot you sent that. I'll have to look at it.
I've added one.
Oh, yeah?
I've added one.
Oh, cool.
And some that are coming up down the pipeline, they are probably things that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, all right, back to this. So it's one thing to believe in God. It's another thing entirely when God gets written into the dress code, the school board agenda, and the laws determining what medical care you can have. Faith may be personal, but religion is the friend who says no pressure and then pressures you until pressure has pressured. So today I'm asking the question nobody with a campaign manager ever asks out loud. Does religion belong in schools, in politics, in public life? Or are we all just pretending this isn't a slow motion takeover? And before I start swinging any harder, we'll go to Tessa first. Tessa, when you hear religion showing up in a space that affects everyone, like schools, policies, and laws, does it calm you or set off your internal smoke alarm?
I don't want to be the first one. Both, I guess, because we wouldn't have what we have without the religious aspect. It plays such a big role in all of our decision making, I think, as like government level. But also it makes me uncomfortable because I don't have those same beliefs.
Right. What about you, Clinton? Does it make you nervous when you think about decisions are being made based on political religion beliefs? Or even like your child's teacher, right? Your child's teacher and what their beliefs are, and trusting that they're teaching your child not their beliefs, but just education.
Yeah, but there's a fine line, I think, that we shouldn't cross at all. Because your beliefs can kind of misconstrued things at times into what you might think is right and what is wrong. Really, I think it doesn't really belong in schools and politics. It's more of a lot less of line of like there should be like how they have rules, things like that, like just to be a kind person, things like that, and how you do things. More and less of how you follow, who you believe in is the way to go, and it's just, it shouldn't. It causes more chaos at times than it does relief, but having it, like good moral sets, versus a religion part.
Well, some things that we're going to get into are, if decisions are being based on this religion, this Christianity, then should it be okay for other people to make decision based on Quran, based on Muslim beliefs, based on all these other things? And on the other side, which is like non-religious, is just your moral compass and what you believe in. So you talk about, not saying gay in school, not talking about reproductive rights, not talking about gay, lesbian, trans, and all of that. So who decides what gets to be discussed and what doesn't? Right? So if I tell you as a teacher, you cannot talk about religion. No prayer in school. We're not taking breaks. But then at the same time, they're also telling you, don't act gay. Don't be the gay teacher. And don't talk about gay. Watch the books that are being used, So who is that morality compass? Sadly, it's not us. So if you really want to know who's running the country, start with the schools. Kids are the test subjects of every adult insecurity, right? It's affecting the kids. It's hurting the kids. And a lot of politicians use that, to me, as fear-mongering, right? To fear you as a voter, to scare you as a voter and say, see, this is happening to children. This is why this can't happen. And religion has been trying to sneak into classrooms the same way kids sneak gum into math class. Messy, obvious, but somehow still happening. So let's get the timeline straight, right? When was religion allowed in school? When was it pulled? And now recently, Trump has allowed, prayer back into the schools, or at least he proposed it. I don't know where it's at with everything, but I know it was one of his conversations. So in 1962, Engel versus Vital, Supreme Court says school-led prayer violates the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. So that was in 1962. Supreme Court says you can't have school-led prayer. Now, that doesn't mean that the children can't pray. It just means that an adult figure cannot lead prayer, right? And America said, okay, but what if we do it anyway? So in 1963, Abington School District versus Shemp came back and said no mandatory Bible readings either. So the 1962 one didn't really say what happens if you don't or what can and can't you do. So in 1963, they said no mandatory Bible readings either. And America was, right, but hear me out. Because here's the thing. If something is banned in America, someone will turn it into a political hobby. So fast forward to 2022, just 3 years ago. Coach prayers on the 50-yard line, and suddenly the Supreme Court says personal prayer is fine. Even when it's done in front of the marching band, the concession stand, and 3 local news stations. And now we've hit the sequel montage. Texas, put the 10 Commandments in every classroom. Louisiana, let's require it. No biggie. Oklahoma, the Bible is now educational material. Florida, I have thoughts. Florida always has thoughts, but they don't.
They don't say much.
The argument is always the same. Kids need moral guidance. Sweet, love that for them. Then hire counselors. No scripture. Because here's the problem nobody wants to say out loud. The minute you put one religion into a public classroom, you automatically tell every kid who doesn't follow it that they don't belong.
Yeah.
A Muslim kid shouldn't feel like a visitor in their own school. A Jewish kid shouldn't feel like a side character. A Buddhist kid shouldn't have to pretend. And an atheist kid shouldn't have to explain themselves. Schools aren't churches, and teachers aren't prophets. So let me throw this at you. We'll go to you first, Clinton, since Tessa was like, why me first? Did your school experience religious? And what do you think kids today are absorbing when scripture shows up next to the cafeteria menu? So when you were in school, we're older.
Yeah.
Much older than Tessa.
Yeah.
Not much. She's getting there. But do you remember prayer in school or any religious? Because you didn't go to a religious school. You didn't go to a Catholic school. You went to public school, right?
No, yeah, I was public school. I don't recall offhand, but some of the things that would happen would be more, how should I say, like, observed as kind of a religious aspect, you know, or whatever. But I was kind of an outcast in school, so I mean, not really an outcast, but I mean, I was very shy and introverted, so it's like I'm picked on, and a lot of things happened through school, so it's like I didn't really pay attention to that. It was happening at my house, like, you know, so it was like I was always around the religion aspect.
So you're an outcast kid or a naughty kid?
A what?
Were you an outcast kid or a naughty kid?
Not really necessarily like, well, not outcast or naughty. It was just I didn't fit it. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
There was a lot of different things that I, you know, was feeling and seeing and hearing and all that stuff. So I didn't really, I don't know. I guess I focused on more of protection myself and stuff like that throughout that time. So it's like I really didn't pay attention to outsources as a lot. I didn't observe that as much. Or if I did, I just don't remember, you know. So. But I see it a lot now. I think there's a time and place for it. Really. You can take your aspects. It's like you're learning tools for, like, you know, throughout life, you know. So you're learning something, and you're learning about your religion. You're learning tools and aspects to become what you believe is a moral aspect or anything like that. And then you go in public and you use that, but you don't use that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's time and place. It shouldn't be like, I don't believe, no, it shouldn't be in schools. It shouldn't be in politics. There's a time and place for those beliefs. And that's not like in a public eye of where everyone needs to be, like, you know, kind of like a follow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's so hard to explain something.
So Tessa, I know that your school experience was a bit different because you didn't really attend public school. But some of your school life was online school, right? You did an online school program. So did you ever experience any kind of religious aspects of being in school?
Well, yeah, I was homeschooled until like 3rd grade or 4th grade, and then I went to online school until high school. But the schooling didn't have religion at all that I can remember. But the homeschool community has a lot, and I think it's a reputation that I've kind of had a negative view with because I wasn't super religious. But a lot of homeschool families choose homeschool so they can have more control over the religious piece with their kids, and so they are like extreme religious.
Well, especially in the homeschool curriculum, I remember there's a lot of homeschool curriculum that is literally created around religion or Christianity, really.
Yep.
So a lot of like the educational teaching always has some form of religion in that when it comes. Because Tessa's right. A lot of kids that are homeschooled are from a very religious family because the parents want to have that religious freedom, and the only way they can do that is by, teaching the kids themselves. Sorry, I cut you off, Tessa.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, a lot of people when they think of homeschool, they every time they point out if I go, yeah, I was homeschooled, they go, oh yeah, we had this kid who was homeschooled in our area, and he was really weird. And then I'm like, were they religious homeschooled? And they always say yes.
We used to call people like that. Remember what we used to call them? Bible thumpers.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tessa, you are a mother of 3 kids, 2 currently in school, and then you have a little one that's coming up ready for school soon.
Yeah.
And your kids attend public school, right? What are your views on what your children are taught in public schools?
In regards to religion, I don't even think about it. Now, in regards to everything else in the entire education system, I hate it, but I don't have many options there.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to religion, or anything they're learning aside from like the basic principles, I think I have more of a responsibility to teach them than the school does. And so I would hope that their home life would have more impact than the little bit they're getting in school.
I think I've watched you raise your kids. I've watched you be a mom, and I have no doubt that you impact your children more than school does. And you have your tribe, right? You have your tribe of people and all that. And my God, we were just up there for a wedding, and all the little kids. It was like we hadn't seen them since July. It's like it was like just back to how it was, like we saw them yesterday, kind of thing. It was great. I miss them. I'm gonna cry. So, if we were to let Bible into curriculum, should every other holy text follow? What do you think, Tessa? Because usually when you think about religion in schools, it's always Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. And listen, if you're going to comment on the way I say Christianity, not you two, but in the comments of the podcast, I'm well aware I can't say the word. It took me a good 5 years before I could even say the word tour.
A tour.
I used to...
said that to you?
People say lots of things in comments. Yes. But do you think if we allow... Right, so we have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So if we allow the Holy Bible, Christianity into schools, then should every other holy text be allowed to as well?
Well, they should, but that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and it's weird because like you were saying or whatever, it's like you see all these other countries that have a certain religion and they pretty much, most of them will follow it. And it's like, we see ours. Well, what is like our country religion? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see other countries that have certain religions and stuff, and that's what the whole country pretty much.
Well, don't quote me because I'm not into history. But I think if you look at the way the Americas was formed. Now, I'm not talking about Native American owning this land. I'm not tapping into that. I'm just thinking about the British coming over and those people that were coming over, and that's founded on Christianity, right? Because that's where the Pope is. That's where all of this starts. So I think if you look at the history of America, you would say, yes, it's based on Christianity, but then we're also a melting pot of race, people, gender, color, sexuality, religious beliefs, and religious beliefs follows that because you have such a melting pot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think it would make people uncomfortable, right? If schools, for one, if schools tried to do it for every religion, they wouldn't teach anything, right? There's some religions have prayer time.
Yeah.
It's like every day at noon you have to stop and do your prayers, So I think that's an uncomfortable thing. I'm also one that's like all or none, right? If you're not going to do all,
then don't do any.
Because if you're going to talk about affecting children, right, a lot of political decisions are based on fear-mongering of the children or fear-mongering the parents because of the children. When you don't include all, are you not now the reason for the children feeling not included, feeling hurt, feeling scared, feeling threatened by these other religions because only this religion is being put into the schools? So now, based on your political decision to allow religion in school, but just this religion, you are now hurting and affecting the children. You're literally doing what you're calling out other people for doing.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic for me too. You know how I feel about that. I'm not.
Well, we're a very multicultural.
Well, I have my I have my beliefs in things. But I never view myself as an extremist in things, because when I look at extremists, I think of a lot of hate, misinformation, confusion, erratic behavior. Because if I come to you and I say, these are my beliefs, and then you don't agree with me and I start flipping out on you because you don't believe in what I believe in, I just became a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because I expect you to believe in what I believe in. But I'm not expected, or respect. I'll say I expect you to respect my beliefs, my morality, all of this. And I think where extremists have it wrong is that they believe that they don't have to respect the other side.
Yeah.
I don't have to respect your beliefs, but I expect you to respect mine.
That's ego. That's completely. That has nothing to do with religion. That is your.
I know.
Own
I'm on a sidetrack because sometimes words bring thoughts into my brain, and so
we digress.
I think that goes back to last week, though, too. I don't think anyone's doing it with ill intention. I think they're doing it because they think that would be the best route for children, and they want to save children, and that's the way to do it. They think that they're doing good.
Well, then there's the other part of what I think is like, isn't this supposed to be the land of the free? The land of you to be able to be you, beliefs, and everything like that, and not have to feel the judgment from what they were experiencing from the past.
Right.
And the segregation, all the other stuff. And it was supposed to be more open and freely, like to be able to express your own self, your own beliefs, your own religion, things like that, to live how you like to live how you would want to live, just to live your life.
Yeah, as long as you're not breaking laws,
doing
people.
Anything like that. So it's like, and now it's pulled in where, so to me it's like, okay, so we're supposed to be like that. Like everyone's supposed to be like, okay, they can be who they want to be, and you might not like that or anything like that, and then that's your self to, where you got to come back into self and just know that okay, well, I might not like it, so it's just I just don't. I won't be around it. I won't put myself in that or anything like that, and I will just say, respectfully, we can agree to disagree, but as a human being, another human being, I'm not gonna shun you and turn you out, you know what I mean, or anything like that because of whatever, unless it's like of the highest standard morals, where like you think it's okay to do something to people or anything like that just because. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Then it becomes that. That just means it's more in the moral standing,
So my view on this is when we're talking about putting religion into school and the politicians wanting religion in school, then the goal isn't really religion in school. The goal is one religion in
Yeah,
school.
yeah, and it's more of, to me, that makes it more of a easier way to manipulate and use it as a weaponize it, in a way where
Well, and that brings up a question, Tessa, as a parent. If your children were being taught religion in school, how do you think you would handle your kids coming home with all this stuff that they have learned in school, which doesn't necessarily, you talk about that you hope that you have more impact at home. So how would you handle having these conversations with your kids that are learning about God and the Old Testament and the New Testament that doesn't really mesh with what your home is like altogether?
Well, I wouldn't want them in school, but I don't always have a say in that by myself. Um, but I know one of them has come home asking about God multiple times, and we just tell them like, yeah, a lot of people believe that, and it's good to learn about, different religions, but you can also look at it from like a history point of view. But we don't like encourage it necessarily.
Right.
We don't discourage it, but we don't encourage it.
Right. You're not shaming them for asking the question or
Yeah.
for having those thoughts. So let's switch from schools and let's talk about politics. I was scrolling I was scrolling TikTok last night, and Roseanne Barr came on my feed. I don't follow her. Um, I watch who I follow because then my FYP starts to starts to fill with things. And the history that I think personally that I have with Roseanne, it's not personal. I don't personally know Roseanne Barr, but I do view that she comes off a little, because people don't know what she's saying. But if you take the time, there's things that she says where it's like, oh, that makes sense, right? I might have that same thought. But she made a comment on one of her TikToks last night that kind of made me cringe. And we were laying in bed, I don't even know if you caught it, but she made a comment about that she was very happy that the current political climate is Christianity based and has that belief, and that she's happy that the country is being ran with Christianity at its side. That she said it in two words. I'm just kind of explaining it. But she did mention that she was happy about that. And I'm just like, I'm not happy about that. So let's talk politics. The arena where religion and ambition get drunk together and make terrible decisions. American founders wanted freedom of religion, not government by religion. I think that's what Roseanne was talking about, is that right now it seems as government by religion, right? But somewhere along the line, someone got those wires crossed. Maybe it was the Cold War. Maybe it was the televangelist. Maybe it was when someone decided in God we trust would look cute on money. And as if the Almighty was dying to be on our currency like some spiritual influencer. And then, under God, got slipped into the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954, not by divine revelation, but by Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing said God loves America like a political marketing ploy during an anti-communist panic attack. So fast forward, and religion isn't just in politics, it's running a whole side hustle. There are faith-based lobbying groups spending millions every year to make sure their version of morality becomes a law. Things like Focus on the Family. I'm sure you guys have heard of the group Focus on the Family.
Mm.
They're pretty big about abortion and LGBT stuff. There's the Family Research Council, Alliance Defending Freedom, and the Heritage Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
These groups have more influence than half the senators in Washington. If religion itself ran for office, it would win 38 states without campaigning. Now let's talk about the big one. Abortion. Roe v. Wade in 1973 gave women the right to choose. Some people celebrated. Others began a 50-year training montage. Religious groups poured money, time, and theology into one goal, overturn Roe. And in 2022 with Dobbs, they succeeded. That wasn't legal reasoning. That was religious activism dressed in judicial robes. And these new state laws, they're not subtle. They quote scripture more openly than actual sermons. Some even reference God's plan in legislative hearings like it's bulletproof evidence. Same-sex marriage, made it legal, but religious groups immediately pivoted to religious freedom exemptions. Funny how freedom always seems to mean freedom to discriminate. So, since Tessa left the screen, Clinton, do you believe politicians actually mean it when they cite God in their speeches? Or is it just the easiest applause line on the menu?
I think it's a weaponization. It's literally, they're deceiving when they use it. They don't have good morals, to me. Like, you're using something that you believe in to manipulate someone else and do other things.
An entire country.
Yeah,
of people.
I'm sorry, that's deceit. That's manipulation. That's not good. That's evil. You're trying to get an agenda, your own agenda, like your own intention. It's rude. It's not cool. It's not okay. That's not good moral. That's not good moral.
Tessa, do you...
I believe that they're using, and I don't believe that they're really that religion then, because if they were about that religion, then they wouldn't be doing that.
Well, there are parts of Bible that talk about, like, there's things
that have been added over the
do.
years. Yeah, I'm sure.
So, Tessa, do you think that there is a space for religion in politics? And when I say religion, I hope people understand I'm talking about Christianity, because there's not a whole lot of other religions making decisions, on this stuff.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because I think
Yes
it guides
and no, yeah.
people's moral compass so much.
It does.
So if they're doing it and they don't, if you're doing it and you're, say, preaching about religion, then no, that's, like Clinton said, they're just using that for more votes. But if they have those beliefs and they're using them for good and they're coming at it from a good position and not trying to change anyone's mind, then yeah, I think it can guide people's moral compass, but they don't need to preach about it. So, should it be in religion or should it be in government? No, but it is, and I kind of think that what you were saying, Clinton, is across the board, like, it's all just kind of a show.
Yeah.
So, who knows what they actually believe? They're just saying what they want to say to get the votes.
Exactly. And so it's like you gotta really use discernment when you hear things nowadays. And he's been a wild muffin. I don't know, man.
Our cat. Can you see the cat butthole on the screen? There's a cat butthole above Clinton's head, and I know we're a little bit chopped off. Like Clinton's chopped off, probably for you too, Tessa. But it's recording in the right format. It just doesn't fit on the screen. So I guess like one of the questions I had, and now that I think about what you and Clinton and Tessa have said, should it be legal for someone to write a law based on their religious beliefs alone? But if you think about religion being faith, being your moral compass, whether you use it for good or evil, I'm not talking about that at all, but wouldn't it just be, even if we were politicians, that if we were to try to form a law, get it passed, would it not fundamentally just funnel down to my beliefs and my religion?
I mean,
that's the hard part, right? Because it's like,
but it should be funneled down to, is it right? You know what I mean? Like, or is it wrong? Like,
but it's never going to be right or wrong for a majority of people.
About what?
Well, I mean, just take abortion, right? Some people believe abortion. I mean, not it's believe it is illegal. I mean, I'm not really. It's state based, right?
Yeah,
so states now get based, and that's a whole other topic.
But when you ask them, what are their answers? It's basic. They base it more on religion. Their religion shuns it. Their religion says this and that. So their beliefs are more in their apt of religion than, okay, is it okay for another human being to not want something that someone else might want or whatever, to have that feeling of, I don't want it. I don't, you know what I mean? And then there's an option. We give you options then. So that's more of the compass of whether or not they think it's right or wrong. So if they don't think it's right or they think it's wrong, they have a choice. So they're given a choice. That's a choice versus, okay, well, my religion says that if you do it, that you're going to hell and it's just an abomination or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Whatever the religion thinks about the topic. It's not your decision. It's not your choice. You are not them to make that decision for them of what they believe is right or wrong. That's why people are given the choice to do what direction you want to go with it. You know, that's the stage right there. Not religion beliefs or anything like that. Is okay, what do you believe is right and wrong? Do you believe it's wrong to have an abortion? Or do you think it's right to have an abortion? Why do you think it's wrong to have an abortion if you think it's wrong? You know what I mean? There's aspects of it that fall into, well, it's another life. You brought another life in. That could be, a person, you know what I mean? Another person, But then there's all those aspects of that person of responsibilities, things like that. Or you can do adoption, things like that as well. But have responsibilities of having a child. They're great. You know what I mean? And you don't, it's the line of now, Tessa, like you guys and you and people that have children, you're teaching them, okay, whether or not you think you are by having them in your environment. They learn, so they're becoming a person, they're on their own. And that's when they're learning right from wrong. They're learning what they should do, what they shouldn't do. Things like that, and it's more of the lines of it's whether or not you want to be a respectful person or not. It has nothing to do with a belief and stuff like that. It's not your. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I can't say. I'm over explaining. Basically, it's not their decision to think or say what another person thinks or says, whether it's right or wrong for them.
But to devil advocate that, right?
Yeah.
So then these people that we have in Congress and Senate, which don't even, maybe that should be an episode. I actually don't believe we should have a federal government. I just think that we should have state government, because then we, the people, have more of a say. And, you know, we're talking about these people that are in the federal government are like lifers. They're in there for life and we can't get them out. And, you know, and they're making federal decisions for us, but that's a whole different topic. But I think where I try to put my mind to is, if I were in there trying to pass laws, my laws would be my bias, right? My belief system, my anti-religion thinking, right? So should we be so upset that they make decisions based on their beliefs and religion, when if I were in there, I would go and try to pass laws based on my beliefs and my anti-religional, like I'm regional, my anti-religion beliefs,
Yeah.
right? I think there needs to be a step back, because I do think some of these things are pretty extreme that are being made. And I do think that there should be a separation of church and state. And I think that politicians should, when they're talking and making speeches and stuff like that, like they shouldn't talk about that stuff, right? They shouldn't talk about my God, my this, my Bible. It should just be like, I want this law to pass because this is my belief, you know, or this is the belief of the people of my community that I represent, and not base it on religion. I think that's where I have a hard time separating, is belief and religion, right? Do I think laws should be passed based on strictly religion? When I think about that question, it's like, well, do I believe that laws should be passed based on the Bible then, right? Because when we're talking about religion, we're talking about Christianity. We're talking about Christians. We're talking about the Holy Bible, James version 1352, whatever version we're on now. But so no, I don't think that. But I do think that people try to pass laws based on their beliefs and their moral compass. And for them, it would be their religion. For me, it would be my anti-religion. You're trying to pass laws that are unnecessary, that you're trying to base on Bible teachings, right? Tessie, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think you can't prevent the bills that are coming out from being biased because one person is presenting them, but that's where you need diversity in your House and your Senate for them to pass it, and then that would eliminate some of the bias.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, is when you have too much of one thing, that's where things go wrong. When you don't have a good mix of people making decision, that's where things go wrong.
Well,
We have a lot of politicians right now preaching Christianity based on all their decisions, and there's just so many of them in office right now that there's no counterbalance. It's just this, you know.
Yeah.
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So when we talk about decisions being based on religion, this is where things get spicy, because if you look at other countries where they make decisions based on religion, then we start seeing certain things, right? So there are countries where religion is the government. And spoiler alert, they're not vacation destinations. So women jailed for hair, people executed for leaving their faith, books banned, sexual minorities erased, dissent silenced, and culture flattened. So that's what happens when belief becomes law. The government stops protecting rights and starts protecting doctrine. So we're all aware of the countries that fully run based on their religion. And before anyone in America gets smug, we're acting like we're immune. And we're not absolutely immune. When politicians declare the U.S. as a Christian nation, when public funds flow to religious schools, when chaplains replace school counselors, when Supreme Court opinions quote religious concepts instead of constitutional text, that's not patriotism, that's theocracy with good branding. So let me toss it into your corner. I cut you off last time, so... What do you think are the earliest warning signs that a democracy is bending towards religious rule? So, and I think you've talked about this with me. So, and do you think there's any signs there? Do you think there are signs that they are trying to put us into a religious rule in America?
Well, there's lots of signs. There can be.
Yeah.
I just not at the time. I can't. Well, it's like you said, like you're hearing more and more of like the politicians using Christianity and all that, and that's where I go back to from the beginning. Is we aren't supposed to be. That's supposed to be separate in politics.
Well, that's how this country was founded, right?
We wanted land to be free. We wanted to be free from the religious part and controlling the aspect of your normal life, your everyday life, and having to follow those rules and hating and all that stuff. We didn't want that. They were hating. There was so much fight and hate because of religion. That's why people go away. They want to get away from it, and that's
religious persecution.
Yeah, and we didn't want that. That's what this land was supposed to be free from all that. And now it's becoming, becoming, like I said, it's more Christian based because of what they believed, the British believed, and they came over with a different concept of it, and they're trying to push that narrative when it really wasn't supposed to be that narrative at all.
Maybe I should start using that word instead of Christianity. It was supposed to be where
other people are supposed to come over, other cultures and other beliefs. We blend.
Well, we have freedom of religion, freedom of expression.
Exactly. We blend, and that's the problem we're having. There's a lot of different religious beliefs that we can't blend because one religion group hates another person just for being alive, existing. It's like you can't be that way. So it's like you can't bring that into a group. You can't. There's got to be structures and borderlines of how you are. That's not how it's run anymore. You can have that belief, but you can't act things out. You can't be that way.
You can't use it to hurt others.
Yes. You can't weaponize it. That's the thing, that's where it's got to stop, is weaponizing it. Like, yeah, okay, you can believe in, some people shouldn't exist because of what they do or how they are, or do sexually or how they, anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of religions out there that don't like a lot of things and think it's an abomination or think it's bad.
And we did a whole episode on Scientology where they believe in an alien.
Yeah, and so...
But they're actually hurting people. Scientology is hurting people.
Yeah. There's a lot of religions out there that are hurting people. A lot.
Tessa, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think are some early warning signs that a democracy like ours is bending towards religious rule?
I think we're already past that. Which is ironic because, especially based on recent news, how unholy our politicians actually are. And
There's a whole thing I remember where you and I were talking about it, Clinton, and it was the ones that fight so hard against gay rights are the ones that later come out and realize they had a call boy or something along those lines. They were doing something, you know. So do you think a judge's religion can ever stay truly separate from their rulings? Sometimes like actual judges, Supreme Court judges, lawmaking, the judges in court, or is it wishful thinking? Because here's my thought. I'll tap into this a little bit. Maybe I can help string this along a little bit. When I think about a judge, I think about they have their own Bible. They have the laws of America. And that should be the Bible that you go by to make your judgments. Nothing else. Your religious beliefs, your Christian beliefs, whatever beliefs you have, never, ever should a judge's rule be a personal rule or a personal judgment.
They shouldn't, no. But in all aspects, you're gonna have it because of it's humanity. You're gonna look for things. You're gonna look out, and you're gonna see things to validate your own thoughts about things and how you see it and how it is. You're gonna look outwards for validation of what you think and stuff like that. So it's like I do believe that whatever their belief is, it's going to fall in line of how they're going to put into action. Well, they say they might not.
Well, I think
but
we just saw that.
It's a natural thing. So it's not. They're not trying to, or in a way, but they're trying to do the right thing. But sometimes it will, and it does usually leak into it. So it's more of the aspect of, you're trusting in them. So in order for them those judges to get to that point, their morals, their standards, and they're very publicized about it, but you can really see, how they act and how they do and stuff like that. Like you'll see biased things come in or anything like that. You can see that, but more of the times it's like they have a higher standard, and in order to be in that position, you got to maintain that position by being what you have to be. Yeah. You can't use that bias of you bring in that your religion or bring in your biased own thoughts about what you've experienced or have seen and heard and things like that. That's a really hard thing to do. To separate because you're going to have an emotion come in. And then that's... Well,
and I think also Supreme Court, I think there's a difference, right? So, Tessa, do you have thoughts on this before I switch it up?
No, I think Clinton covered it.
I think there's two different thoughts on it. I think when you're thinking about judges that are your basic judges, right, for crime and things like that, but I do think Supreme Court people are being asked because they have their decisions change laws. Whereas if you go to your courthouse, those don't change laws. That's just, You stole a car.
Right.
The law says because you stole a car, you get this. But I do think Supreme Courts do have to, we just saw it with Obergefell, right? Kim Davis asked the Supreme Court, a lot of fear-mongering that. Don't get me started on that because I knew they weren't going to see it, but then people were fear-mongering about, we're going to lose the right to be married. And I just well, that's not what it said.
Oh, yeah.
It was just petitioned. Let's take a breath, people.
Yeah.
And it was no judges agreed with Kim Davis.
Yeah, no.
But for me, that almost has to be a personal belief a little bit. There has to be a little bit of personal belief for you to rule a certain way when you're being asked something that's not 100% a law, right? You're being asked to change the law.
Yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of personal belief in that.
Okay. First, and I'm sure they do. But it comes down to the aspect of what is it hurting anybody by having same-sex marriage?
Well, I think that's what people have to do.
None.
That's what they do for
None.
a
It
lot of
doesn't
things.
hurt. It does not hurt you. It hurts your belief. So it's hurting your ego. It's hurting your own inner self. So that is you, not you can't. That's it right there.
But how do you come to that decision of how you feel about a certain class type of people? Because I'll tell you, I can struggle sometimes, and this is going to be a far left, not like far left, right in politics, just outfield. I feel like what people see in social media, what people see in news, can change their thought or their belief on a specific type of group of people or person. And what are you seeing out there? You're seeing the extremists that I talked about earlier, because just your average parent, your average gay couple, your average person that had an abortion, we're all just living our lives and not bothering anybody. But who has the loudest voices? And that's what's seen. Honestly, when I think about the LGBTQ community, the loudest voices are actually hurting our community, because I'm like, well, no wonder why they think that about us. Look at this fucking video.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
then again, it comes down to is like, why are you trying to take something away? Okay.
well, and
Why do you want to take? Okay, that law basically is giving us the right to have the same rights as if a man or a woman to be married to, where it's like if your spouse dies, your equal love dies, you get the same rights in the courts and everything else as they would. What is that harming you in any way?
It's not.
Exactly.
And I think the Supreme
why are you
Court
going
saw
at it?
that.
You are taking a personal vindictive. You're being personal. You're not thinking of a general above. And that's where it's like those judges have to come in and they look at the general. They can't take the religious aspects out of it and beliefs and stuff like that out of it. They have to go, what's the problem? Is it a problem? Like, really? What are they getting extra special? What are they? It's not. And there's no problem with having same-sex marriage versus heterosexual marriage, opposite sex marriage. It's just, the general is, they just wanted the same equal rights as to if things were to, happen to your spouse, your loved one, someone you loved.
Yeah.
So that's basically, they're attacking that. It's like really, and you're a good high moral person, you think that, whatever, I don't know, the belief or whatever, but you think that it's okay to take someone's legal right to where if something were to happen to their spouse or their loved one, that they shouldn't have the right to be able to do and step in and be that person for them, like your beloved one can for you. Like that's so mind-blowing. Like that is you are so glued on that. Really? That's life for you?
But now the question goes back to,
because your belief that we shouldn't have that?
I was just saying that the people see the extremists, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to go back to, well, on average, the American people, do they actually have a problem with gay marriage?
Most people don't.
No, but what are we seeing? We're now seeing the extremists.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're trying to use, is they're weaponizing that to use for their own political gain, for their own whatever agenda it is.
And honestly, Kim Davis needs to lose her bumpet. A little bump she's got in her head.
She has the right to be what she has the right. And the religion...
We should outlaw bumpets.
Their religion does say that. That's her belief, but that you can't use that in public. Sorry, right. It's just not a thing.
So let's talk about the fallout. Not theoretical, but like real.
Yeah.
So when religion dictates law, I can't talk today. When religion dictates law, here's who gets steamrolled. Women denied healthcare. Yeah. LGBTQ plus people denied dignity. Yeah. Teachers denied academic freedom. Doctors denied medical options. Kids denied inclusive education. Minorities face denied representation. We talked about that. Just being a Christian-based country. Patients denied contraception, IVF, gender care. Families denied autonomy. Voters denied secular policy. And communities denied equal protection under the law. Religion works beautifully when it stays in hearts. It becomes catastrophic when it tries to run the traffic lights, the direction of things, right?
Yeah.
And yet the people demanding biblical law would scream oppression if another religion, any other religion, had equal power. So the Christians would be like, oh, this country can't run on the Quran. We're a Christian-based country, you know? And they would be like, oppression, we're being oppressed. The Christians are being oppressed by these people. And actually, I've seen some of that. I've seen some of that on TikTok, which I try to keep an open mind to things, be like, well, that's that person's view on it, and not be like, oh my God, the Christians feel oppressed. They shouldn't feel oppressed. They run a lot of things, but so if the Quran replaced the Bible tomorrow in schools, those same lawmakers would barricade the Capitol with their own bodies. So the problem isn't faith. It's selective faith.
Mm-hmm.
So, do Americans actually want freedom of religion or freedom for their religion? Tessa, you go ahead. Did that question make sense?
Yes, but I don't think you can put the general public into the same pool as the extremists or the politicians, because they have very different goals with that.
Yeah.
So I think the general people want freedom of religion. Everyone else wants control.
Yeah. You have the same thoughts, Clinton?
Yeah.
I want the freedom of no religion. No one has religion anymore. It's gone. We're all Wiccan.
It's just, you know what I mean? Like, you can't live amongst each other and have those and use them in public. You can't use your beliefs of your religion in public if you're trying to mingle all together. It won't happen. There's going to be problems.
Well, and I think, if we talk about, I'm always going to go back to the gay thing, right? Because that's where I believe I have, and not about religion, but when you were just talking about not in public, we were just talking about the extremists that make the LGBTQ community look bad. I think one of those things that also makes the LGBTQ plus LMNOP, RESPECT community look bad is our pride events. Because you talked about not taking things and putting it into the public eye, putting it in their face. Mm-hmm. And pride's very much like, check out our sexuality. We're going to be half naked down the street and we're going to be promiscuous. But we want families and kids at these events. Sorry, that was a way outfield. But when you talked about, keeping things private or where it's supposed to be, right? And just, God damn it, just, you learned it in kindergarten. Keep your hands, feet, and other objects to yourself. And treat others as you want to be treated. Like, if we're going to talk about school, those were the core values of kindergarten. Yeah. Don't wipe your boogers on your peer.
Well, and you have to consider the times, too.
Yes.
Because, religion, marriage was for religion. That's why it was created. So then, now they added the legal aspect to marriage, where now you want to get married for the legal protection, but what about the people that want to get married because it's a religious act? You have to kind of think about how times have changed, and a lot of people aren't very flexible with that.
Yeah, I get that, Tessa. Yeah, but that's the thing is they're seeing it as they're using their religious belief again to ostracize something that we just want for legal standards, you know, and it shouldn't matter whether or not you're a man or a woman, or a man or a woman or
Christian, Muslim,
what religion or anything like that.
Jewish.
It's just the aspect, and that, and like you said, it's going to take time for them to realize that and grow with the time. That they think it's an attack, you know, basically on their religion, and it's not in any way. It's just, in this United States, we base and a lot of places too, but it's legality. It's laws and what's been written and stuff.
Because we're a democracy.
Exactly. So it's that aspect, and we're not a democracy republic. I don't know why democracy is a thing.
Well, because we talked about earlier about countries actually being based on, like, ran by their religion.
Yeah.
We technically don't have that because we are a democracy.
Yeah.
I put that in quotations a little bit, but there are countries that run fully on what their scripture says.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and then you have people that flee to America because they're afraid for their life because of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like, well, then why are we trying to turn this into the same place?
I think it depends on who you have in power. Like Tessa said, when you have too much of one thing, then that's all you're hearing, seeing, feeling, and laws that are being done.
Yeah.
And, you know, when Trump was just recently talking about getting rid of the filibuster, it sounded great to people because the government could be opened back up. The part that they forget is that when you remove a filibuster, then it becomes majority rules.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have mattered if they had to have had 70 votes to pass whatever law. It would just be, well, Republicans run the House, the Senate, and the presidency, so everything they do is going to go through.
Yeah.
I think even when you're a Republican, you don't even want that.
No, yeah.
You know? So when we're talking about removing these safety features that were put into place, if you, like Tessa said, have too many of one thing, then you're really taking this country into where we could be religious based if you have a lot of these people that are Christians and want to follow the Bible.
You'd have a dictation. Yeah.
So that filibuster thing was a scary thing. And then the thing is like, oh, well, the Democrats can be the next 4 years. Do you know how hard it is to take a law back away? It's harder to take it away than it is to create it. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that didn't go through.
Yeah.
So, all right. So does religion belong in the systems that govern millions? Short answer. If your laws need divine authority to stand, they're probably not good laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Religion can shape your heart. It cannot shape my rights. It should build compassion, not boundaries. A lot of stuff that you were talking about. Guide conscience, not governance. And heal people, not control them.
Yeah.
America is diverse, messy, complicated, but beautifully chaotic. And no single belief system, not even the biggest one, gets to dictate the term of everyone else's life. Because if God truly needed Congress to pass his wishes, he'd probably choose better spokespeople.
Yeah.
So here's the truth. Faith is personal. Law is public. And when you mix them, you don't get morality. You get control masquerading as virtue. So one final question before I let you guys go, because I have to pee. What would America look like if religion stepped all the way back from governance? And what would it take to get there? Meaning, what would America look like if religion was fully taken out of the picture altogether? What would that look like for you? Go ahead, Tessa.
I don't think it's possible.
Right, but in a perfect world.
I mean, it would be great if you just went off of, what's right, what's wrong, is it hurting anyone? But even that's so iffy with people. I don't know.
Clinton, I know that you have always talked, and maybe this will fit in here, is that your view is that federal governments should not be making laws. All laws should be voted by the people.
Well, it should be that way anyway.
Right, but that kind of goes along with this. Like, would that allow for religion to fully step back? Because now you're saying any federal law must be voted on by the people, not these representatives that have life terms, and not life terms, but they're, they have to, 7 years, 10 years. Do you think that would help?
If a religion was all taken out?
Yeah. Do you think that would ever happen?
No, I don't think it would ever happen, no. But, I mean, like Tessa said, it's what's right and what's wrong. Is it good for people or is it bad for people? That's the lines. Like, I don't know.
My view is if you let the American people make all the law decisions.
See, that's another thing, too, is like, because if you make the people just vote for it and stuff like that, once again, the majority would rule again. So if you got more of one religion, they're going to vote a certain way than versus others. So then again, that's not really a good aspect either, is of that, because it could go not the right way, it could be damaging to people again. There's got to be some sort of way, and there is, I'm sure, that it's just, you don't, if it's harming people, like literally harming people, like, then that's where the aspect is, where it comes in. That's where they should play it. If it's, physically harming, stuff like that, psychologically or whatever, I don't know, because psychologically can even be, it's determining how you perceive things in a way too. So, but if it's not physically hurting a person, I think that's, they should, it's hard to say what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying.
Like, yeah.
You're saying it.
It's just, we need to have that boundary, that line or some sort of line where it has nothing to do with anything but whether it's right or wrong.
I think where I get...
And is it going to hurt people physically? Because mentally, that's your own ego. That's something you need to learn to be okay with, not anyone else and stuff like that.
I think where I get confused really is this, like you said, this country was formed, the Declaration, the I almost said 10 Commandments, totally different thing, was built on their need to be a separation. So how is it being gotten away with right now? Yeah. It should be, you watch The View, and it's funny because The View is known for saying stupid shit, incorrect stuff, right? And now because they've gotten in trouble so much, these hosts are literally being handed pieces of paper that says, you must now say this because 2 minutes ago you said this incorrect information. If there truly is a separation based on the forming of our country, then you should get a ruler smacked across your ass or across your hand, because you even mentioned...
Don't do that again.
you even mentioned God, right? If you're in politics, then you should not be allowed, because you scare people. Think about that...
fear-mongering, yeah.
That politician from Minneapolis the now new mayor of New York, who are talking a little bit about their religion and how people are just so scared about it because it's not Christian, right? It's all the talk right now. And if we just kept that out altogether, then we don't have to worry about this. Exactly. Now, are they secretly going to put their stuff in, and base it on their... That's fine. I know you're going to do that because religion creates your faith, your bias, your morality. That's your compass, right?
Yeah.
But don't tell me you're making decisions because of that, because now you've pissed me off.
Well, it's just like... it's just like the group that's going around and they're targeting businesses saying you can't sell cigarettes, you can't sell alcohol, you can't sell pork, things like that. I'm sorry, no, not in public. You can't. If you want that, then why don't you buy a big old piece of land? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be that's once again, that's bringing religious beliefs into everyday public life, and that can't be. You can't do that. Like, you just can't. You can't take away from something from everyone else just because your beliefs and your religion beliefs you say you can't have it.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts from either of you?
I don't think so.
I have two things to say. One, I know my mom listens. Mom, proud of you. Saw pictures of you protesting the data center yesterday in Minnesota.
Oh, you.
You look really good in red. I don't think I've ever seen you wear red. Didn't she look good in red? And my mom, who, gets nervous about doing things alone. I don't know if you ever showed up, Tessa. I saw that she had asked where she was, but she just went.
Yeah.
She did her sign, wore her clothes, and she went and did her protest on the corner, and that was awesome.
That was fun.
The last thing I had to mention is Border Patrol is currently here in Charlotte.
They are. Yes, they are.
We're getting some news about that, seeing some images about that. We are not far from Charlotte by any means, and we are seeing them in our surrounding areas, which is where we are as well, in a surrounding area. I am an American citizen. Born in Washington State, just in case you're wondering. And I have my passport, so don't come knocking on my door. But it's a little scary around here. You and I are both a little bit nervous about leaving the house. Not worried about getting deported or getting
it's just
where they take you or ask you questions. Because it's not just that, but it's the other extreme side, the protests that are happening, right in our backyard too. And I just don't want to be wrong place, wrong time kind of situation.
That's when you just become a homebody for a while.
Grocery store is like 5 minutes, and that's as far as I'm going.
Right.
And avoiding the food trucks.
Yeah.
I see that they're stopping. So, Tessa, you probably don't know this, but in our area, there are food trucks everywhere. Like every gas station's got a privately owned food truck.
Because you can get good food everywhere.
Yeah. And a lot of them are Mexican food trucks, right? So Mexican food. And they're just kind of like just stopping and like asking people. So,
it'd be scary for people.
I think
so just be observant and watch your surroundings and just be safe.
A lot of this stuff is happening probably about 15, 20 minutes from our current location. So they can just kind of stay over there. We'll stay over here. And, I won't share my personal views on it. I do think that if you want to be part of something, then you should legally be part of something to show that you want to do it.
Support.
But I also understand that there is also a need to escape. So I feel for everybody on both sides on this. So this has been the Velvet Gavel podcast. You can find us on all social media platforms at the Velvet Gavel podcast. Leave in the comments, especially if you're a Christian and want to give your little insight, Karen. You're welcome to give your insight as well. Or if you're a Christian and believe like that it should not be part of decision making, it should not be part of school. We'd love to hear that as well.
Whatever your side is.
if you have any ideas or want to be vetted for being on the show, extremely vetted, because I'm not looking for extremists to join us and make me go crazy, but you can email us at the Velvet Gavel podcast at gmail.com. You can, of course, watch us here on YouTube or listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast currently.
Yeah.
So, question everything, believe carefully, and never mistake volume for truth. That's the real power.
Yeah.
So, everyone say bye.
Bye.
Oh, God. How do I stop this? Hold on. Don't leave yet, Tessa.